Hi folks. Alright, we want to do another video here. This one is going to be just about the layout templates. The number 78 video, our number 78 video, Dad introduced the layout templates, and we've got lots of different ones. We've got the trees and flowers, which this is part of that set. There's 10 different ones in each set. And then we've got the hunter wildlife, and this one is part of that set. So there's, like I say, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about, but if you don't, check out video number 78 and you'll see what the layout templates are all about. But we've got quite a few requests for how do you carve these, how do you use these. So that's what this particular video is going to be about, and I'm hoping we can get it all on one. So I want to go ahead and start doing that, and this is pretty much what those look like when they're carved. So we've got one each carved inset and one each carved outset on those particular ones. The reason I picked the double palm tree and the elk is because those tend to be kind of difficult because there's some pretty small detail in there. So that's the reason I picked those. So what I'm going to do now is just set this stuff aside, and I'm going to go ahead and get these laid out, and then we're gonna get to carving them. So now I'll stand up and we'll get these carved. That's just a scrap board that I showed you before, and this is a scrap board, and the only reason I'm using this cardboard is because I'm going to put these in sequence, and you can see when I'm doing the layout like this, we kind of talked about this before. I'm just nice light spray, and this is that Marsh stencil ink that we use. Then I'm going to move it over to here. So I'm going to carve one of these inset and one of these outset on both the images. And again, this is just a scrap piece just to give you an idea of what these things will look like. So this is a piece of my cedar fencing. You guys know that I like carving that stuff, so it's pretty soft and makes a nice sign. So there's that one, and then the last one. Got plenty of room all the way around. Even if I wanted to do these all outset, there's plenty of room to go all the way around on them. All right, so I'm going to clear that nozzle, get this stuff out of the way. Alright, so now those are all laid out. Again, this is just practice so you can see what they look like. And now I'm going to go ahead and set up my router, and when I come back on, this ink will be dry and I'll set up and do some carving. Okay, so we're getting ready to carve. One thing I wanted to mention is that I use two different bits on these, depending on whether I want it to be outset or whether I want it to be inset. These two are outset, and those I'm going to use the profile bit on. These two are inset, and I'm going to actually use, you could use the profile, but I kind of like to use the 60 degree on stuff that's got some really fine detail. But you could probably use the profile too, but I like the 60 degree. So these two are done with the 60 degree. These two are done with the profile bit. And check out Dad's videos. He did a really good job on explaining, if you don't know what those bits are, on number what, 78 or 38, 39, and 40. He goes over all the router bits, so you'll see what the difference is between the 60 degree and the profile bit. And then if you want to know what templates we have besides these two, check out video number 78. That's another one that Dad did where he introduced all the templates and the sets, and you can see them on the website too, which is in the description of this video, of all of our videos. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of go over that. So now I'm going to go ahead and start carving. I'm going to take my brush and get off the excess ink that may be on there. And then I'm going to, I've got this set with my profile bit, so I'm going to do my outset images first, okay? So now I've got to show my bald head, put my magnifiers on, and we will get to carving here. Oh, there goes my hat. That's all right. I think this is pretty much set already. You okay over there, Dad?
Okay, son. I'm zooming in on the first set of palm trees.
So I'm going to carve this one outset and that one outset, and then I'll switch cutters and do those two inset.
All right.
Here we go. Okay, I wanted to stop just for a second. So you see what I did was I went around everything that I wanted to go around pretty shallow. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around, I'm going to set the cutter deeper, and I'm going to go around and make everything a little bit deeper so that when we go to spray it and sand it off, we won't lose any of those lines.
How deep did you make each of those cuts, son?
I don't know, that's probably somewhere close to 1/4 of an inch, maybe not quite 1/4.
That last cut?
That last cut, yeah. I don't really measure, I go by the width of the cut. But that's a really good question.
Yeah, because we get a lot of those questions about how deep to set the cutter.
Right, and again, with me, I don't go so much on measuring the depth of the cutter, is how wide the cutter cuts. So it's almost kind of like a feel. I don't even measure anymore. I just go by the way that it cuts, and if it's the width that I want, then I don't really care what the depth is, as long as I know it's deep enough.
Okay, I just wanted you to pass that information on.
Yeah, no, that's a good question because we get that a lot. Good thinking, Dad. Another thing you guys will have noticed is that since I'm talking and I'm routing here, is that when I do some of those sharp inside corners, I kind of lift the edge of the router, and that's how I get those sharp points. So that just takes a little practice, but if you've got a good bit and you've got fairly nice material, it's not that difficult to do, it just takes practice. Okay, so there I've done my inset. Are you on there, Dad? I'm sorry.
I got it all.
I'm moving the board around.
No, that's all right. I'm following you.
So I've got the outset ones done. Now I'm going to go ahead and change this cutter out and put my 60-degree cutter in. And I could do this off camera, but just so you can see how I change my cutters. We always keep our cutters in these tubes because it keeps them from getting chipped up. The carbide is it's a great to make tools out of, but if I was to just nick this, just barely touch this on the edge of that cutter, it would break that edge right off. So always keep your bits either in tubes or somehow protected so that they're not banging around and touching each other. Did I tighten that up?
Yes.
Good. Always double check. If you're not sure, always double check. All right, so let's get the depth set on this. And again, I don't really go by depth. I'm looking down the surface of that router, and I can see how far that's sticking through. Then I just make a little test cut, and if it's not deep enough, then I'll reset it. All right, here we go. So inset. Oh, that's too deep.
That's where you're dropping down in
Yeah.
to make those sharp points.
That's exactly right. And I can do it that way, or I can do it and lift out. So you can see the two different ways that I get those sharp corners. I can do it and just drop in and graduate it, or I can lift out. And I do it kind of indeterminately. I don't really plan on doing it any specific way. I just kind of have taught myself to do it both ways so that I can do it either way. The neat thing about doing artwork like this, guys, is that if you're not right on the line, or you don't feel like you're doing it exactly right, as long as you're getting the effect that you want, that's what really counts. You can see on some of these I'm right on the line, but on some of them I'm not necessarily right on the line. You don't have to be, as long as you're getting the effect that you want.
It's nice the way you lift up out of there, because that shows up real well on the camera like that.
Good, good.
Are you going back, you going to do the other one before you do the cleanup?
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and do the first pass on this one, then I'll go back and reset my depth and go back in at a deeper cut on both of them.
Okay. Just as a suggestion, every time you lift the router clear up off of what you're cutting, it shows a good picture of it on camera.
Oh, okay. Like that?
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, guys, since we're talking, this pad that I'm using here is much like pad that I've used in the past, but this is drawer lining for like a big toolbox. I think we got this in a roll at Lowe's, and it works really, really well. Okay, sorry about that, Dad.
That's all
I'm
right.
going to reset my depth here, because I've got all my little fine details. So I'm going to reset my depth to what looks right to me. And if it's not, then I'll reset it again. Need to connect that. And I'm going to go around. All right.
Now I noticed you didn't do the legs. That's because you don't go any deeper on the legs in the fine detail.
Right, if I was to take this at that width right there, if I was to take that in here, and I could, but I'd have to be really careful that I didn't touch, because I don't want to widen those out. So I want to be real careful, although that one I could just touch a little bit. So now, let me go back here. Now, here's something that I do. Oh, where's my pencil? When I get down into some of these, thank you. When I get down into some of these, if I was to sand that the way it is, it would come up as a white spot. But I still want to try and get that texture that I really like. So what I would do is I just kind of bounce that. Here I can go pretty much full depth. But when I want to get into a real tight spot, and I don't want to go full depth, I'll just kind of bounce it in and out just to make sure that I still get a texture. I can go a little bit deeper on that actually. You get that all right, Dad?
Yeah, it's coming out good, son. Lift the router clear up every once in a while so they can see what you're doing, see the results of what you're doing.
Okay. See, if I was just to bring that router bit straight down there without kind of bouncing it, it wouldn't leave that little bit of a texture down there. That's just my preference. That's what I like. You guys can do it however you want, obviously, but it just gives you an idea of how I do it when I get into tight spots.
And it looks good, son. back and do this. Get this all cleared out.
Okay, so now we're going to shut the camera off and I'm going to brush these out. Well, actually, let's just go ahead and keep the camera rolling while I spray these. Then we're going to have to let them set for a few minutes while that ink dries. So I brush this nice and hard down in there, try and get out all of those little chips and stuff. So now let's, you still on camera, Dad?
Yeah.
Still good? Okay. Again, a nice light spray. Don't spray it too heavy. This cedar doesn't, I've never really had a problem with it bleeding, but if I was doing pine, I would definitely be aware that there might be a bleeding issue. But with this, I never really had this much problem. But nice light spray is all you need. And you can look at it from a few different angles if you like, but nice and easy. I missed a couple little spots in there, but keep that can moving and a nice light spray. So I'm just going to let that sit for a few minutes. We'll turn the camera off, then I'll come back on and we'll sand it off, see what it looks like. Okay guys, we're back. I've got it, it's all dried off now. I've got my sander set up with my sanding board. You guys know this thing's, I'm going to probably have to get a new one in one of these days, build a new one, because I've sanded probably 3,000 or 4,000 signs with this one. It's getting kind of beat up. But anyway, so I've got my double sander set up. This is a 50 degree on this one. That's what I rough it down with, and then I finish it up with a 120. So we'll just go ahead and sand this off and see how it comes out.
Yeah, we're all set then. Go ahead.
All right. Now you'll notice that I didn't take all the ink off, but probably about 90% of it. And when I'm sanding the surface of the sign, I always go with the grain.
That's a good point, that you didn't sand down deep enough to take all of it out, because you're going to get that with the finish sand.
Exactly.
And it's important to keep a light touch on that sander, right?
Yes, it is. And as a matter of fact, I know there's many of you guys out there don't like the belt sanders because you really have to develop a touch with a belt sander. I have, and I like the belt sander. But another way you could do this is obviously with an orbital or one of the vibrator sanders, and I know a lot of you guys are using those. So let's go ahead and blow this off.
Yeah, it looks just like you want it to.
Now you'll notice in there are a few little high spots. So especially on these Inset ones, there's a couple little ones there too. So that's where the Sharpie comes into play. So all we do is just try and touch those high spots, not to try and get to the edge too much, and it kind of blends right in. Here. I think I got most of them there. One little one there.
Get any more, let me zoom in on it before you mark it.
Yeah, there's one little tiny one right there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's about it. Not too many.
Yeah, it looks good from here.
Not too many. So that's basically it, guys. That gives you an idea of how you go about carving these layout templates. They work out pretty well. Again, you got to see quite a bit there. Anything I'm forgetting, Dad?
No, it's this is a good how-to video, son. It shows how you do what you do and the results that you get by doing it right.
So we're going to we'll go ahead and get this posted. We've got a couple more ideas of new videos, but give us your feedback, guys. If you have any questions or anything we can help with.
Yeah, and we want to do another question and answer. So send us your questions. Whatever question you got, send us your questions. And we're going to do a question and answer, maybe answer 25 or 30 questions on a video. So as you watch these videos, write your questions down, try to remember them, then send them to us in an email. So when we're making a question and answer video, we can answer your questions and even give you credit for them if we can remember your names.
Yeah, and if you have any ideas, we've got a whole list of videos that we want to make. But if you have a specific thing you want to see a video on that has to do with what we're doing here, let us know. We'll be happy to put it on the list.
Same thing with patterns. If you have some patterns that you get requests for that you'd like to see, let us know. We may be able to make a whole set of patterns based on suggestions.
Yeah, I know we've got a couple already that we're working on right now. So, all right, guys, I think that's about it. We'll see you down the road. Thanks again.